All right, a very good morning and welcome to this amazing webinar. I'm glad that you have managed to come through. And by the way, for me to just check how many have joined us, it would be nice to know where you are tuned in from. So please, if you can, on the Zoom, on the X and everything else. In fact, we have our boy here, he's already here. So it'd be nice as well to get to know. He has confirmed that he's right here. So on the Zoom, just give in your comments where you listening in from, because our guests are here and they'll be introducing themselves in a minute. But first, a few rules. Have you grabbed your pen and paper? It would be nice for you to have done that so that at least we can really learn. And if you have any questions as well, make sure you put it down, make sure you're typing them in so that at least we can address everything about wealth, everything about success, and everything else that comes with matters planning in life, and especially in our finances. Thank you so much for joining us. So I'll be waiting to hear from your comments, some of you, where you're listening from. So if you need to take that moment and grab your coffee, it's now, because we're going to get into a marathon. One of our guests as well will be joining us online. He'll be introducing himself. So I think that's it in terms of ground rules. But one more ground rule. If you have a question to one of our guests once they introduce themselves, please get to know their name so that at least you can address it directly to them if you remember their name. So thank you so much once again. I want to allow our guests to introduce themselves, and I'm trying to look at the order. We're looking so beautiful. I'm the only one who can see how we look here. It's a beautiful sunny morning, as you can see here. So I think I'll start from that end. So very quickly, how would you introduce yourself to the people and then get to know you?
All right, thank you, Maina. My name is Sam Githu. I work with ICA Lion Asset Management. Been working with them 16 years now. Wow. In the investment advisory department. So we've been talking to investors and guiding them on how to invest. Excellent. And I'm very happy to be here today.
Excellent.
Yeah.
There you go. What Sam forgot to also say is that he's still a student. I think he's encouraging me that you never stop learning. Still a student of law, right? Excellent.
And investments.
And investments.
Yeah.
Wow, lovely. Then we have our next guest. I don't want to mention the name so that you can have the privilege of doing that.
Okay, thank you. Good morning. My name is Margaret Ndongo. I work in the life company, ICA Lion Life, within the actuarial function. I've been at ICA for the last 8 years and looking forward to the conversation. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. That's Margaret, and she's representing some age generation. I'll be saying later on. And then we have the baby in the house. Sorry, did I say that? Our only Gen Z. So please introduce yourself.
Okay, thank you, Maina.
Yeah.
Good morning, my name is Purity. Wanjiro Chege. I am a research analyst at Abojani Investment, where we continue to empower retail investors. I'm honored to sit with more experienced people this morning. I'm looking forward to learn as well as share my experiences.
Yeah. Purity holds a degree in financial engineering from JQuat. Anybody who has gone through JQuat has seen life, and we're going to have a good one, is it? There you go. So, yeah, this is going to be a very, the word is interactive conversation. So please feel free as well to let us know on the go as we're discussing these conversations, how you're feeling, what your questions are, any lessons that you take in, tell a friend to tell a friend, okay? Now, this conversation as well, I believe, is also happening on X. So if you're there, please share with your friends, everybody else, so that at least they can know. So share that link if you can right now. Now, as we said and as we worded our webinar, we told you we're going to be having conversations on a cross-generational conversation on wealth, aspirations, and success. So purely, as you can tell, Purity, let me start from Purity's side. Purity has 2 years of experience. So that tells you this is the generation that is the youngest. Are you a Gen Z, by the way?
Yeah, I'm a Gen Z by default.
So I need to be careful, because, you never know. But anyway, I think she represents the young people who are probably, not even probably, in Kenya we say they are the majority.
We are the majority,
we want, and a lot of corporates, a lot of people have said, if this generation gets to grasp how to work around money, how to invest well and plan well, they would end up safeguarding their futures. That probably the privilege of getting to know how these things early was not there with the generation Margaret, with generation Sam, and generation Fubo. And I just want to check whether our final guest is online. Fubo, if you can hear me, how are you doing? You're in Mombasa. Yes. Excellent,
Yeah.
excellent. It's good to have you there. So that's our guest right in Mombasa, Wafubwa. I didn't want to forget you, so it was one way of doing it. So if you don't mind, how would you introduce yourself probably in a few seconds?
I'm the CEO of Financial Services. I've been in the financial services sector for more than 20 years and glad to join you this morning.
Thank you so much, Wafubwa, and we'll be having that conversation. Wafubwa represents the generation. The generation. He's older than all of us here, so which is good, and he'll be helping us in those conversations. So let me get straight to it, and Purity, I want to start with you, and we're talking much to do with young professionals, the Gen Zs and all that. And I wanted to ask you the question on what are your current financial priorities? What are you doing with your money? I think that's the best thing, and your priorities. Yeah.
Good question. Thank you,
Yes.
Maina. As someone who is new in my career, new in the world to some extent, my biggest priorities right now, I will say I am my biggest priority in the sense that I'm really taking the time to invest in myself.
Yeah.
I'm investing in my career. I'm investing in my relationships. I'm investing in everything that has to do with me. I am my biggest priority at the moment.
Yeah.
So I'm focusing on improving my skills. I'm taking an extra course, which I'm actually paying that on my own. So part of my money is going there. I'm also prioritizing an emergency fund at the moment because I think we've seen the news this recent few months on, layoffs. It's never good news, for someone who is just starting. When you see someone struggling in their 40s, you're like, I need to have a plan B for myself. So I'm also really prioritizing an emergency fund. And also there's the element of investing in the experiences of life. For me, life is never that serious. I believe the mistakes I make in my 20s are not as harsh as someone making mistakes in their 40s or in their 50s.
Right.
So I'm really investing also in my experiences, my friendships and the connections that I am making. I actually have a specific fund with my friends where we put a certain amount of money every month so that by the end of the year we do something for ourselves. So
Okay.
I don't think I don't think my generation is going to work for 5 decades.
Yeah.
I think that is changing right now in the job market. We are more flexible, and it's also important to invest in experiences.
Is it over
And live
flexible
in the
because most of
moment.
them are just doing 2 and they're like, I'm bored, I'm done, drops the mic and goes to another job. Anyway, I'm just But thanks for that introduction. I wanted to ask you, we're talking matters to do with the importance of financial planning at every stage of life. When you look at you and your peers as well, and you've spoken about yourself, would you say that this generation that you represent is planning financially?
I would say we are woke. We are aware of the situation that is around us,
Yeah.
and we are learning from the mistakes of the people who came before us, and we obviously want to do better. I think we have the advantage of social media and the advantage of information. We are able to see stories online of people who, whatever financial mistakes they made when in their 20s, and find ways to do better or to correct,
Okay.
so that you don't follow in the same footsteps.
All right.
So we are aware.
Excellent. Thanks so much for that. So, Simon, you are our expert in this, so I'll be bringing you in. When we are talking about this, I'm sure you know very well who you're receiving, the kind of messages you're receiving, the people that you're receiving.
Yeah.
From your own perspective, is this generation, the Gen Zs, are they serious about planning in terms of finances? Just a quick comment. I know we'll come into depth into that. What are you observing?
Currently, they're in the right space. Compared to the rest of us, when we were at their stage,
Yeah.
there's a lot of information we didn't understand
Yeah.
as far as investing is concerned.
Yeah.
But at the moment, they're lucky because a lot of information is out there. It's in the social media. You a click of a button and you have the information.
Okay.
And industry is also growing. So there is no excuse.
Okay. That's a
And
lovely.
as she's saying, that
Yes.
they don't want to suffer the mistakes of the people who are ahead of them.
Yes.
And some of those mistakes they have observed, and that some of those things is that that particular generation did not have the kind of information that would have been right to make sure they're able to take care of their future.
Okay.
And they now have that opportunity to make sure that their future is brighter.
Yeah.
And so I think they're in the right space.
That's a good one. So, okay. So I see you guys are woke. I think that's the word for the day.
Aware.
That's right.
Aware.
Woke and aware. So still back to Purity. Let's talk about the steps you have taken personally. I think you've spoken about it, that yes, your what you're doing in your financial priorities. So what steps have you taken in investing? At least when you're introducing yourself, you've said you have been in a circle where you guys talk about investments, which is a good one. But probably most of the young guys who are watching today may not have the same privilege, but probably it's a good time to also enlighten them a bit on this. What are the first steps you have taken in investing, and what are those areas you've invested in?
I think for me, even having a background in the space with my degree in financial engineering, I've always known about these different investment products, knowing about, but I think I actually came to practice and start investing once I was out, I entered the job market or had a stable source of income.
Yeah.
So the steps that I have taken is I have several accounts. I have more than one money market fund account for different purposes. I'm also a baby in the stock markets, but since this is the year when the stock markets will
Already,
actually
just hold
do
on.
well.
You have more than one money market fund.
Yeah, I have more than one money
This
market
generation
fund
is woke.
account.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's a good one.
For different purposes. One
Yes.
is an emergency fund that I won't blow my trumpet. I'm struggling with that.
Quite a number of guys are. Yeah.
I'm struggling with that, but it's a work in progress. And the other is my sinking fund for my education.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Education. Wow. This is good. I'm sorry. I have to always constantly engage because guess what? Simon is our expert today. Simon, what do you think? Is she doing right? Is she in the right steps, or she still got some more room?
Yes, she's, and from what she has just said,
Yes.
she's already spoken half of what I would have said. She's already in that space, and just to encourage the others in her age group,
Yeah.
that's the right direction in terms of, I see that she's looking into putting money for not just today,
Yeah.
for even way ahead.
Yeah.
And even the kind of, and the choice of instruments and the choice of investment options that she's picking are good because they're speaking to her needs currently.
Yeah.
Her needs, and this is what I would call the short-term needs.
Yeah.
Having spoken about having taken several money market funds,
Yes.
those ones are going to take care of short-term needs.
Yeah.
She's talked about that they sit down with her friends and they put money together and perhaps they go for a vacation, maybe at the end of the year. I don't know. But she's alluded to that direction. So those, I believe one of the money market funds is basically doing that.
Excellent.
She's also talked about something for her education, yes.
Yeah.
So I'm sure she's looking into making sure that she has the finances to improve or add more skills.
Yeah.
And at the same time, she's also getting into the stock market. She's saying she's a baby in it. But when you get into the stock market and looking at that particular environment, you're looking at long term.
Yeah.
And so she's also thinking about things that are going to happen way ahead. And there's no better time. I mean, for the younger generation, the best thing is to start taking care of 20 years, 30 years, 40 years ahead now. And that will do very well with the stock market.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lovely. Well done.
Thank you.
I will come back to you about how you're managing, and then we shall also talk about some of the mistakes you've made. I'm sure with your years you have made enough. And of course, Margaret, you're here patiently. I know you represent also the mid-career and, a generation. Let me call it that. I don't know which one that is. This is Gen Z. I don't know what you call yourselves. I would say mine. And by the way, guys who watch it, just for the sake of interacting with us, let us know what generation do you represent and what's your key takeout. By the way, have you started saving? Do you have an emergency fund? Are you saving on anything? Maybe it's education or something of that sort, like I've heard from our youngest one, that's Purity. Anything that you have done, or are you just wild like, oh my goodness, I don't even know what I'm doing with my money? Don't worry, you're in the safe place, and safe space as well, and we shall be helping you today on that. So, Margaret, let's come to you, and I just want to know about, you are representing a generation that has a lot in their plate. Family, kids, I don't know, home ownership, those kind of questions, those kind of things, long-term investments, because you're also starting to also look ahead and retirement, and we shall talk about, by the way, we shall hear from Simon when we should start thinking about retirement. But how are you doing in that, and how are you balancing these things first? Let's start there.
Wow, balancing is it's a hard term.
Yes.
Well, there's a lot happening at the same time. But what I would say is at least what I've tried to do is being aware of what are the outflows and what are the inflows, knowing that if you're cognizant of, okay, these are the outflows that must be done, for example, the basics, food, shelter, clothing, and being able to manage those within certain limits. If it's food, something as simple as knowing that I spend X amount, there are ways I can save in this regard on the food part. If it's shelter, you're living in a place where it's safe, the rent is within a reasonable range. You're not paying everything into, all that money is not going into paying rent. And the likes of clothing and the like, you just ensuring that even for the items that we purchase, for example, if it's a car, you're ensuring that it's good quality, so that we don't end up again spending so much more on maintenance, or that you're losing out so much in terms of for instance, if you didn't buy a good car, you'll spend a lot in servicing, which is an outflow that was unnecessary, so to speak, which is again becomes a leakage. So ensuring that whatever items that I'm putting my money into, number one, there's less leakage, and that leakage is through picking up things that are maybe not the right ones, if I would use that term.
I don't know what term you'll use. For the Gen Zs I had about being woke and all those kind of things. But I don't know what term you guys are using. But I feel, and correct me if I'm wrong, your generation as well has a bit of pressure, where you're taking your kids to school, what kind of car are you driving, all those kind of things. And then I think a lot of people end up making big mistakes to please people. I don't know. Also, how many kids are you going to have, all those kind of things. And I don't know how those kind of things have come by you, because a lot of people end up even getting into debt just to please the society. I think we have seen that. Maybe some people are watching and they're already in some issues. Simon, today you have a lot of work to help us here. But I don't know from your end, what smart debt management or wealth building strategies have you learned so far? Because, the cycle keeps going on. You need more, because even as the kids grow, the schools don't become cheaper. I'm just saying. So please go ahead.
I think one thing is just ensuring that you're not pulled into spending things just because there's that fear of missing out, so to speak. If my friends, for example, have taken their kids to high-end schools, and I cannot say afford, or they're taking a vacation and I can't say afford, just being cognizant, okay, this is, for now, it's okay to live within my means, number one. That will prevent the issue of taking bad debt, as an example. So bad debt, I would classify it as the debt you're taking to meet your personal kind of expenses, for trips. If you must, then ensure you pay it early or quickly. And the kind of good debt would be the types of mortgage. Of course, at this age, you're looking at, we have 20 years to get into retirement. At that point, we know that we'll not have a consistent flow of income. And as a result, then we need to start thinking, I'll probably not be able to afford rent in retirement, because there's not that salary that would come in when I was in my 20s and my 30s. And by the time I get to my 50s, I'm thinking I don't have enough time to save, I don't have enough time to sort of, if I was to get a mortgage at that point, the outflow would be, outsized in a sense. It would be quite significant. So it's better that I start taking some of these debts right now, as opposed to it coming much later. So that's what I would classify as good debt. And also for these assets that I'm acquiring, so ensure that you get some, say for example, insurance, for instance, because it avoids the surprises that would come much later. For example, if something like, let's talk about even life insurance, for example. That's something now it's more present in mind, because I'm thinking, okay, I have kids, right? If my spouse is not present, it would mean so much more in terms of how much money or how much it would affect the inflows into the family. So just avoiding some of these shocks that would come about because we did not take the right type of protection, in a sense, from an insurance point of view, then become some of the products then we also start thinking about.
Wow. That's a lot. I mean, I'm actually trying to digest and thinking, hey, yeah, because we have a generation that still is struggling to think, oh, what insurance do I take? Oh, what is it necessary? And then until the crisis comes, and then they realize they would have done that. I think it hit me hard one time when I invested and bought a very nice phone. And by the second week, oh Lord, my phone, it drank some water somehow. And I couldn't imagine that it just went like that and all the money that I'd saved for it. And someone told me as little as 2-3K, hoping phone would have been replaced. And I thought, what is this? Those are my hard lessons those days when I was that age. But now I've learned better. But Simon, you've heard how Margaret is doing all these things. And we have a generation represented by Margaret here that is doing bad things. And others are doing great things. We have also had them, some of the people, I think there was a research done, some of the people who are getting debt collectors coming to their homes and all those kind of things. Their generation, I don't know what's happening with them. Some of them are getting to very bad loans and stuff like that. I don't know, what's your comment first of all on what you feel and how Margaret has really planned herself? What did you say? Yeah.
All right.
Yes, yes.
And like she said, and she said a lot, I think this is a generation that a lot is happening.
Yeah.
This is a generation that will say life is happening. And when you look at it, there's so much on their plate. This is a time they are now moving away and realizing that things need to get a little bit serious. Compared to the younger generation, they still feel that they have a lot of time to do a lot of things. But at this particular generation, you realize that there's just so much that needs to be done. Finances and the inflows she's talking about are not as much as the things that need to be done, just basic necessities. And that has led a lot of them to getting into debt just to match up and just make ends meet. But I think what is the most important for them is just to have a clear balance on what needs to be done, when it needs to be done. In terms of taking debt, just understanding what is good debt, what is bad debt. And just having that balance and not forgetting that while they're in that particular space, they will need to put aside money, they will need to save for emergencies, they will need to... and when you look at emergencies is probably one of the things that has led a lot of them to getting into debt. And these emergencies will come. I mean, you're raising a young family. If things are not put in order, there's a likelihood that you're going to land into an emergency that you'll need some cash, and this is some cash that you probably don't want. Before we move out even into that space where life has its own pressures. I mean, you have your peers who are moving in a particular direction and you want to feel you're also in that particular direction, and that kind of pressure is also sending them into debt. And of course, financiers are very happy to interact with that particular generation. So you find even the temptation is also coming from even that environment. But at the same time, I think it calls for a good balance. And like she said, it takes somebody to really sit down and think through what needs to be done and when it needs to be done.
Guys, thank you so much for that. Sam, I have to be careful. These, some Simon today, but this is good. Sam, I think you have alluded to some things that we need to be careful with. That's the bottom line, because anything can hit us hard. In as much as we're trying to build this, what you're saying, losing it can be in an instant, just like that. I am very happy because our viewers are sending in questions, and I'm very happy that you guys are doing this. So please feel free. I will open up that session for that. But if a question pops up, don't wait too long. Just type it in, because we shall open up that Q&A moment and we shall answer all your questions. So thank you so much for the ones who are already asking, and I'm appreciating you for that. Let me as well appreciate Eunice. Thank you so much for that. There's an anonymous attendee. Thank you so much as well. A lot of millennials. I think asking questions. Thank you so much for that. So let's bring the other generation. Simon, you are there and joining us from Mombasa. Is this what your generation does? Goes to Mombasa a lot? Just check it. But anyway, I think they must have planned themselves well. So Simon, over to you, and I want you to really talk about transitioning from wealth accumulation to wealth preservation? Because I think your generation, you must have not made enough mistakes like the millennials and the likes, and you are there at a stage where we're talking about accumulation to wealth preservation. Go ahead, Samuel.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. And really, I want to say that there is no generation that doesn't make mistakes. It's just that the mistakes might be different because our experiences could be different. But the concept remains that in every generation there are always opportunities to learn. Before I answer that question, allow me to just make some few general comments.
Yeah.
In line with already what we have, my colleagues, fellow panelists have also shared. Number one is that when you are young, your age is your collateral. When you are young,
Yes.
your age is your collateral, because if you use that as an opportunity to start to save early, you are likely to accumulate more, even just little. And I have some practical examples, minor.
Yeah.
I give some numbers. I say that for someone who just starts at age 35, saving 10,000 per month with an estimate of 12% per annum up to age 60, they are likely to have 16 million by the time they get to age 60.
Wow.
But someone who starts at age 25, same amount, same return, they will have 51 million.
Okay.
So this is the difference. Because age presents the opportunity of compounding interest
You're right.
to accumulate and grow your money, so that your money works much faster and growing and accumulating. Number two is that while you are young, part of the things that you need to pay attention to is that you have to manage your black tax obligations. Because the danger of black tax, especially in the age bracket between 20 to 35 thereabouts, is that there is a tendency of people to imagine that your money is their money. Mine, I think there, you could be having some around you. Now, what happens is that black tax, if it is not well managed, might eat into your disposable income and pull you down in your ability to save for the future. And I'm not saying don't give. I do encourage that you should give and support those of our family members around us. However, do it according to your ability. You budget for them just like you budget for yourself. And so that's my third point, general comment, minor.
Yeah.
That while you budget for others, also each part of your money. Each part of your money is part of financial, sustainable financial well-being.
Eat. Yes.
You eat 10%. There are people, when they get to, they have saved up to age 60, that's when they want to eat. Then the doctor starts to tell them, you can only eat managu, and you can only eat, you can eat nice things. So, Daniel Coleman has written a book called Emotional Intelligence. And he says that when you practice self-gratitude or reward, there is a tendency to have inner drive sustainably to achieve greater goals. Even as you set your financial goals. So when it comes to accumulation, quickly, you got to prioritize your financial needs and goals based on your age. For example, your age between age 20 to 30, your priorities will be different from age 30 to 40 and from 40 to 50. And 50 and above. And I think here also, and that will then influence what you call your asset allocation. When you are young, you can do more activities. And when you are old, you don't want your blood pressure to go to the stock market. So you reduce the exposure of activities. And then finally, still on that question, I think this is a huge opportunity terms of tax. Recently, Kenyan government changed the tax benefits for pension. At the moment, if you sell through pension up to 30,000 per month with ICLI group, you will save on tax about, for the first 30,000 on payroll, they will be tax exempt.
Wow.
And that's a huge tax saving. In addition to that, if you save for your post-medical retirement, you'll also, up to 15,000 per month will be tax exempt. That's a total of 45,000. Everyone is running around like police from the tax man. But this is the opportunity to cut down on your tax expenses. And then finally, as we age, we are aging into a future that we become very vulnerable on healthcare issues. Within the law in pension schemes, you can pretend your medical expenses so that when you retire, you have medical insurance cover for your lifetime. Thank you, Maina.
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much, Simon. Wow. I think that's quite a lot. That's quite a lot to take in. And I think I understand, start eating as well. I think for me that's too. I don't know, what are you guys doing? You're the people, what have you taken out from what Simon has spoken? And Simon is representing that generation that we said is those years plus, those guys who should be headed towards. Simon, you didn't even tell us your generation, but I don't want to shout too much. I don't know what's your take, and I want you, Sam, to just come in. I'm sure you heard what Simon said. I mean what Simon has said. And one of the key things that has been said, especially to the Margarets of today, they have a lot of black tax. In fact, that's a thing that probably has, so before they invest on themselves, there's a lot of, their parents are aging, those kind of things. So they end up having to, Simon has said, budget for that. That is Simon who said that. There's also the part of eating when you're still young, so Gen Zs are represented. There's also a part of saving as well and investing. But one of the key things he said is that one of the leveraging opportunities is their age. They have a lot they could do, especially for this generation to do on that. And lots of things that he has talked about, including retirement, and the fact there's a law that can help you save even much better and all that. So this is why you help us, just in simpler terms. What can we tell the people who are listening from especially some of the pickouts from what Simon has given out?
Thank you. And thank you, Simon, for taking us through, because you've basically summarized what all these generations are doing and what they should be doing. And I must say that age comes with wisdom. And from what we've heard from Simon, these are lessons that he's also been able to pick along the way, and even making observations that even when you're much younger, you are likely, or you are better off able to take bigger risks as compared to when you're much older. And he has also been able to show us, even with an example, and even demonstrate the power of compounding. You will earn a lot more if you start saving when you're younger, as compared if you started saving when you're much older. And but that's not to say that if you're already in that space, in that generation, it's never too late. I mean, you can always get started. Having accumulated wealth, I mean, over the years, you're able to also look back and see what kind of mistakes have you made along the way, and how else can you correct them. Even then, even in that space, there is definitely something that you can still be able to do to ensure that your retirement time is enjoyable. So also looking at the middle, the generation that is right in the middle, Margaret and the others, and perhaps myself thrown in there. There's a lot then that still needs to be done. So from where Simon sits and what Simon is saying is, we all have a responsibility to look into what we need to do to make sure that we are able to do it and do it right. So I think there's something for everyone.
There's something for everyone.
Yes.
It's like that cookie. Excellent. Wow. I'm still reeling on what we have heard from this conversation, and I appreciate that. Thank you so much for the questions. We shall get to that in a few, so feel free. But I wanted to ask you a question, by the way. The conversation about retirement savings has popped up, and I wanted to ask you, the viewers, Have you already started thinking about that? Have you? Have you already started thinking about your retirement? And what are you doing about that? It would be nice to know from the comments as well, from your end, what you are doing. If at all there's nothing, you can also say, I'm doing nothing. And you need help. We're here to especially help you. So, Generation Eat Gen Z. I think someone has said it's good to also eat when you're young, because you don't want to, after save it, then the doctor says you eat managu. that was good. That was good. So let me ask you, Purity, from what you've had as well, from what Simon especially has said, what we're getting as well from Sam and Margaret as well, where are you?
It's a pretty challenging, actually, insights from Simon.
Yeah.
I mean, in between the age 20 to 30, in my opinion, these are just foundation years in terms of career and also money management, relationships that you're building, and the networks that you're building. I think being in your 20 to 30, or this, in your 20s, with fewer responsibilities, you have more disposable income, and therefore, being aware of the opportunities that are available, this is the opportune time to even take more risks, as he has said. On eating while you're young, I'll talk about that when I'm saying about my mistake, because that was my biggest mistake in my first few months in employment. I may have overeaten, but I think you have the benefit of time to correct yourself. But I think for me, 20s to this age is foundation. It's about putting your best foot forward.
All right. I mean, someone has said, "Kwambia mwili pole," as they say. It's not bad, but of course with the end in mind as well. Margaret, let me come to you, especially on how you're managing as well on these areas. And I wanted to ask you about protecting and preventing the loss of especially assets, and especially what you currently have worked so far to earn. As we had from Sam as well, it's very easy to also lose these things at a go. So what are you doing to ensure that you're protecting this? Because as you had as well from Simon on the other end, black tax is key there. And some of us, as we keep touting that a lot of families are a disease away to poverty, a parent falls sick, you gotta do what you gotta do, you're the child, and this is you guys, especially because your parents are at that age where they ask for this kind of things. So what are you doing to protect that and to ensure you don't get to that moment where after all this working hard, one moment you are doing harambes and asking us to help you?
Yeah, I think one of the things is, especially now the black tax element, and it mostly comes when parents are not well.
Yeah.
And for that, I think insurance comes in. It's pricey, I agree, but it also ensures that the outgo is known. Probably the outgo would be 100,000 per year, and some years you may not utilize, and it may look like it's lost money, but you're protecting yourself from having an outgo of 5 million, 2 million when you had not planned for it. So probably it helps minimize the shocks, so to speak. So that's one of them. The other one would be, again, taking care of the assets that we have. So, for example, going back to the issue of if it's a car, ensure that it's getting the right service.
Yeah.
The parts that you're using are the right ones. It will help, in terms of if it's things like fuel, you're not finding yourself spending too much on them. And even other things like now taking insurance for other elements like life insurance, if it's critical illness type of insurance. So there are products that most people are not aware about or of. So it's not necessarily a medical insurance, but it's a type of insurance that would pay a lump sum on first diagnosis of of an illness. So what that does is that money can be used to substitute whatever you probably get from your medical insurance cover. It's more often than not cheaper, depending on the age that you're coming in, and the lump sum that would come out would be significantly high. So largely it's around taking care of what you already have, maintenance, insurance comes into play quite a bit within that, because it then helps in terms of avoiding shocks. Yeah.
All right. Simon, I want to bring you in because you see from what you've said has generated a whole conversation here, especially on the black tax and all those kind of things. But I also wanted you to comment on that as well as retirement planning. I don't know why I'm so happy that you're in Mombasa. It just tells us that you probably have planned well on your retirement. But would you comment on the black tax and a bit of retirement planning and why it's never too early to start?
Okay. So, thank you, Maina. For most of the African families, children and their insurance policies, the only challenge is that they are disclaimers, especially in the generation now.
Yeah.
In the context that you cannot rely on children because there are also exceptional circumstances out there that may not allow them to help. So, there is an economist who written a book called Toxic Charity, and the author of that book is called Robert Luton. He did research and he noticed that the more people receive free things, the more poorer they became.
Oh.
So you exchange and sustain poverty through free things. One of the things that I learned from that book is that when you continually give free things to establish independency, you deprive the recipient of the ability to earn, the dignity to earn. Because they stop thinking. They are also speaking to you. You think on their behalf. Now, he actually established 5 levels of establishing independence. He said the first time you give money to someone, they will say thank you. The second time, they will anticipate. The third time, they will expect. The fourth time, if you are right, is an independent. And at the fourth time, when you give,
Yeah.
They will not be saying thank you. They will be wondering when you mention you haven't said when you pay Bobby. That's what happens. Now, unfortunately, for most of us, we get into what we call the guilt trap. Because giving should be free will. But when you get into manipulative space of giving, then it's a bondage. And that in itself is not sustainable. Let me not get into the depth of that.
Yes.
I'm a teacher as well, but I didn't end up there. Anyway, so now on retirement planning, we save for the future so that when you have grown old, your income that you have saved, the income that you get monthly at retirement, should be able to cushion you when you are not able to go to work, physically strong to go to work, and also and work and earn. So you are saving for retirement, and retirement then comes in as your income replacement. Now, I don't want to be very complicated, but I want to be practical to our audience this morning.
Yeah.
To say, if you have saved, say, 10 million at age 60, the easiest way, and I'm sure my colleague Margaret actually will maybe can chip in that. The easiest way to confirm your monthly pension for life is to just take, it's an easy estimate generally, there could be a little bit of difference, but you take 1% of what you have as your lump sum. It will be your monthly pension for life. And that could be like your annuity. So if you have 10 million, 1% of 10 million will be 100,000 a month for life. Your work will be to eat money at age 60 onwards. You just travel across the world and you have money. And why you need to have retirement saving? And now what's called income is that one, people are living long. If you retire at age 60, you most likely will live up to age 90. Imagine the way you are looking feel like this. What can you might work to 120? You need to have enough savings to cushion you all through. And Aspirations Group have an annuity products that can give you that arrangement.
Wow.
Number two, you also need to have medical cover, which can be embedded on that monthly program as well. And that can also be availed so that you don't depend on your children or children's children as you are meeting all your monthly pension. Because no power.
Wow. Simon, you know, I think in this generation we say he's injecting, eh?
Yeah, he's
You are really injecting. You know, I want a quick reaction, not from you, Sam, but from Margaret. How injected have you been? I saw you taking some notes. You're like, oh goodness, what's happening? What are you taking out from this? Yes.
No, I like what you said in terms of looking for, you know, there are those products that exist in terms of like an annuity product. So basically it's a product that takes the lump sum that you have saved and translates it into a monthly payment, and that monthly payment is guaranteed for life. So what that does is that as opposed to, you know what happens is that most people get the lump sum and then they maybe rush to get into a new business, for example, that they don't have experience in, or they go to build a house and that house will not be generating income. So a portion of that, take it into a product that, or get into an insurance with an insurance company that is credible, that has been in existence for a long time, that will be here if for as long as you live, right? Remember, if someone is retiring, say at age 60, and if that person was to exit at age 90, that's 30 years. You want a company that will be there, say, for 30 plus years, okay? So that your money is safe. So such products do exist with various insurance companies. There's also something that Simon talked about, and that is compound interest. You know, when he began, I think when you asked him the first question, the way to ensure that you get a sizable lump sum by the time you get to retirement is, again, as I said earlier, start early, and that you put it in an investment vehicle where interest is earning on interest, and as a result, you end up with a bigger amount in your pot. So, as an example, if you you put 100,000 per year for 30 years, by the time you're retiring, at assuming an average rate of interest of about 8%, you'll probably you'll have something close to 140 million. That's not loose change, right? It's good money that will afford people going to Mombasa. Someone will afford going to Mombasa every other week, right? So that's what I would want to add.
Goodness, Fix. This is. I mean, I'm also having those moments. Just as we are thinking about it, you know, someone has already said that I might hit 120 years, so I need to plan better. I need to plan better, right? And by the way, we have our expert as well answering some of the questions. I think so. Feel free to ask as many as you can. Already 7 of them have been answered. We shall have an open session in the next 1-2 minutes or so to start answering some of your questions. I already can see them coming in. Thank you, Lydia, Collins, Joyce. I can see Hadassah, Eunice. There's someone called Techno. I think that's a name. So just keep them coming. I don't know, from what you've heard from Simon, you know, you represent the majority of the people, the population, when you look at the ages, before I bring some in to kind of give a sum up of some of the things we could do. What's your take from what he has spoken about? Have you started thinking about retirement?
I mean, listening to Simon is just you're like, oh wow, again. I mean, you know, I think I've taken I have 2 take homes from listening to him. I'd say cash is king. I want to have money in retirement. I don't want to have idle land, or, you know, I don't want to be illiquid in retirement. I want to be able to travel. I want to be able to do, even follow my hobbies and all that. So cash is king. The next thing that I've taken from him is the power of starting early. I'm aware right now in the markets, regardless or other than what your employer is offering you for retirement, I think there are now available personal schemes that you can take up in the market that I'm really scouting for. And I think people in my generation should also really focus on that, just as an addition of what, because I mean, as the days go by, and as your wage or your income, as tax continue to eat into your income, and you know, times are changing.
Yeah.
It's important to look for other opportunities or
Yeah.
to create wealth
Yeah.
in the long run. And in as much as in your 20s you're learning from the failures of others, I think it's also important to learn from the successes of others. What did they
Yeah.
do right? And then also incorporate that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sam,
Yes.
what Simon has spoken about is what is ideal, especially on planning on retirement. What have you observed, especially at the generation, the Simon's generation? Are there people who probably never did this and are somehow a burden to the Margarets? Are there people who did it so well and are just cruising on cruises? What have you observed, and what would be your comment on this?
I have had conversations with people in that generation,
Yeah.
and some of them are just discovering what they should have done. And when you look at and you listen to them and you're trying to assess their objectives and what they're trying to do, you come to learn that they're actually trying to correct a mistake. And wishing that they had known what they are now knowing today had they known it a little earlier. And you can tell it's going to be a struggle. And the conversation has always been, okay, let's get started, but let's just do what we can be able to do. And there's just so little they can do to correct all those past mistakes.
Yeah.
And at that point, they're thinking about survival. And it's pretty sad to be at that age and all you think about and all you can do at that particular moment in time is to just think about how do I survive through the remainder of my life here on earth. These are perhaps people who are battling with those diseases that come or health issues that come at that particular age. And like you're saying, some of these things are the ones which have now brought in a burden to the younger generation.
Yeah.
But now they have to really assist them. And so starting early would be a good deal. Now, we also have still people in that particular generation that are doing very well. And if you look at what the difference between those ones and the ones that are doing well versus the ones who are not doing too well,
Yeah.
is that the ones who are doing well, they didn't start when they're old. They started way back. They are not waiting for their retirement benefits to put up that house. They are not waiting for that retirement benefit to do the big things that are important. I have learned from them that they started taking care of some of these things a little earlier, when they had all the energy, when they had all the money, and they started looking at it and they started taking care of it.
Yeah.
And when you listen to them, you will learn that they made some decisions. Some of those decisions is that they sacrificed a lot. They decided not to have as much fun.
Yeah.
Have some fun, but not too much of it.
Yes.
But put something aside
Put
to take
something
care of
aside.
them.
Yeah.
And these are the people you find vacation in every other so often.
Yeah.
These are the people you'll find comfortable. I mean, I could give very many examples of what comfort means
Yeah.
at that particular age.
Yeah.
And those are good lessons.
Okay.
So they're there. But even those ones who have not been there and they didn't do all those things and they're trying to correct, yes, the survival button, when it is pressed, we need to take care of it. And of course, there are solutions that we can discuss
Yeah.
and see that they're comfortable, at least for the rest.
Okay.
The ones who are doing well, I think one of the things that they put in mind is preservation. And they want to know that they can continue being comfortable. They're not
Yeah.
only going to be comfortable the first 5 years after retirement, and thereof they'll be suffering. They're looking at solutions, which we can have that conversation. Solutions that are going to allow them to continue being comfortable, even past when they are here on earth.
Okay.
And even the scriptures say that a good man leaves an inheritance for their children's children.
Children's
So
children. Yes.
that's the conversation with that particular generation. They want to know that I will leave and I will leave something behind.
Okay.
And during that time I will be around.
Yeah.
I will make sure that I'm comfortable.
Yeah.
And so those are conversations that we're having.
Okay.
And if you look at both,
Yeah.
even for Purity here and their generation,
Yes.
they want to know that when the future comes, and even the present, they're taking care of the present, they're taking care of the future, and they want to know that they will be comfortable even then. But
Okay.
when does it start? It starts now.
Starts now. Yeah. That's an injection. Start now. Thank you so much for that. You know, I wanted us to get into the conversation, to the questions that have been asked. So thank you so much for all the questions we're getting right there. But I have to give Simon, because he's the elder, Simon, the last word, especially Simon, to bring in to talk about, just passive income streams. So that I can also enjoy my Mombasa like you, and money is just flowing. What would you want to say on that, so that at least we can secure a comfortable retirement?
So thank you. I'm very glad to pick it up from what my colleague Sami has said. If you eat your future now, your future will have nothing else to eat but your health.
Yeah.
When you get there.
Wow.
So you therefore have to start where you are as you walk into the future. And that has to do also with passive income. For you to have passive income, I have normally 3 pillars of income ability. Minor.
Yeah.
The first one is that you must have the ability to attract money to come. There must be a compelling reason why money should look for you. That the goodness and the money can follow you and then follow you.
Yes.
And what the reason is that you are competent, you are skilled. You can give the sort of exchange of labor. The labor market, you exchange your skill with salary and time. So that's one. 2 is you monetize your talent. We all are enjoying different talents. And then 3 is you grow your career so that you earn time. So that's pillar number 1, ability to attract money your way. But when that money comes to you, you are in the fast race. So you must have an ability to preserve it.
Yes.
Even before you talk about growing it, you must have an ability to keep it. That has to do with your character and your behavior. And there are online tools about your money personality profile. There is a way people relate with money that it is sort of relationship, slippery. So money ends up into an abusive relationship and runs away quickly. It doesn't stay. But within a day, it's all to where it's appreciated.
Yes.
And then the third pillar, after you have kept it, because financial freedom or well-being is just 25% knowledge and 75% your behavior, your character. Now, after you have kept the money, that's now when we can talk about growing it. So growth, you go to look for opportunities in terms of investments for passive income.
Yeah.
And the passive income can come in investments. And one of the principal rules, may I allow me to speak into this, is that please don't put your money with companies that are not regulated or products that are not regulated. Check before you put be it a money market, be it whichever. Check the following. Is that institution, who is the regulator of that institution? Is the product regulated? So that you don't put your money on some online scheme and then after a week or 2, you go to the online and then you see that the website is under construction and your money is gone. The essence of regulation is to protect you. In the event of a challenge with that provider, you know where to go to seek help within the government regulatory agencies.
Yeah.
And then finally,
Yeah.
for those of us who have extra time and your activities are not conflicting with the employer's principle, maybe trade, you are free to do other things like personally I do coffee. And I also have I bought some land, and that land, instead of doing maize farming in Kitara and especially on farming on maize, those are a waste of time. Now I just do trees. I don't need to follow through, but it's another form of contributing to climate change and environment conservation, and it's also a source of income. And there are many ways. I want to say that even when you do side hustles, please don't do anything that you have no idea and that you have no skill or competence on. That should be the easiest, quickest way losing money.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much, Simon. This is getting somewhere. Let's get to the questions, and I think my biggest ask would be that we take as least time possible to answer, because there are quite a number. I already have we have already answered a few, like a bit. I mean, we have answered some by some of our experts, about 15 of them, so we have 10. So I'll just read it as it is, and then you answer it as it comes. Margaret, actually, is a question for you. You're the one starting it. So good morning. Thank you so much. This is Collins Netty. Thank you so much for your question. Thank you for organizing such a forum. Much appreciated. Thank you. I have a question to Margaret Wamboy and Simon as well. I'd like to hear their perspective on this. In today's consumer-driven society, online lending apps have made it easier for people to take out quick loans to cover immediate financial needs. Especially for Gen Zs, I'm just saying. However, many seem hesitant to invest in long-term financial growth or savings, as some were saying. What is your perspective on this trend, and how do you think it impacts the financial habits of this generation? Are we prioritizing short-term fixes over long-term stability? This should be a very quick answer. Margaret, what's your comment?
Yeah, I think so. And I know sometimes it's out of a, there's an emergency and we need to tap into those types of apps.
Yeah.
But the problem, I think, with them is that they come at a very high interest charge. So it just spirals you'll have to get another source of income to repay this one, and it then becomes exacerbates the issue, so to speak. So I think if we can, let's avoid them, and if we must, let's try as much as possible to pay it off in the shortest time possible.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that. Simon, what's your quick comment on this?
Yeah. Generations may come, may change, but principles don't. So, Collins, you structure investments in 3 levels. Immediate term, that will go with short-term investments, like money market. Then mid-term, that will be maybe 3 to 5 years, and then long-term.
Excellent.
All that is important. And allow me to say, it's like football. In a football team, you have the strikers, those are like equities. They are long-term.
Yeah.
The midfield is like bonds, fixed income securities. They periodically burn liquidity. Then the defense is like real estate, hedges against inflation. So we need to diversify. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Diversify. And I know Sammy would want to say something on that, but I wanted to check. I'm just looking through this. I think there was conversations like annuity, all those kind of things. And I think there was, I think it was you, Margaret, who alluded to it. I think there was part of I think it's Nyambura who's asking kindly how, I think the question, I'm trying to paraphrase how she put it. I think she was typing because of the, I can feel you. I would also type like this. So kindly, I think it's expand on the annuity, drawdown of 5 million and how it works out. Is it a monthly income or is it constant? I think you can get the question within the question, right?
Yeah.
What did you say? And I know this can be a whole conversation. They need to see you. Don't worry. I think we just had a monkey come by. It's okay. So, Margaret, what did you say in brief?
Yeah, so it's basically a product. An annuity product is where you go to an insurance company, you give a lump sum, and for the lump sum they give you a guaranteed payment for life.
Yeah.
So like someone said, maybe a rough estimate would be past 1% or thereabout.
Yeah.
You can choose to get that payout on a monthly basis. Some choose that payout is to be increasing on an annual basis. Others opt to, they're happy with a flat number throughout their life. Of course, that has implication on the cost, but generally, that's in a simple way. That's how the product works.
All right, all right. Sam, I know you have a lot to say, but I want you to compound your answer. It's going to come. Let me first of all ask the Gen Z question. Collins Netty is asking, I'm curious about your investment journey, Miss Purity. What led you to decide to invest in both stocks and money market funds? What criteria did you use to make those decisions? Specifically regarding stocks, how did you determine which even stock are the right ones to invest in? Where this one was a bunch, eh? Yeah. Where were there any key factors or strategies that guided your choices? And I want you to answer this in less than 60 seconds. Go ahead.
Pressure. Anyway, so for me, my investment journey has been guided by two things: my objectives and my risk appetite. You know, as I said, my money market funds are for my different goals, and I'm also more. I'm not a risk taker. I know Simon said we should take more risk when we are young, but I'm not a risk taker. I want something that I can sleep at night. I want to invest in something that I can sleep comfortably at night, knowing that my money is safe and I will be able to achieve my goals. So that is why my first investment was actually a money market fund, because it also helps me to now match my goals, you know. I also got into the stock markets because I had a good foundation. Now with my money market fund, I was at a point where I felt I can now take in more risk, because now I have sort of like a buffer if things go wrong, because stock markets are a high risk investment. They're not like a money market fund. So being in the industry, I think for anyone who wants to do stock markets, if you want to do local stocks, you'd go maybe with banking stocks, because those ones, there's a good history there. There's one that pays very good dividends here in Kenya, and some of them, several growth stocks as well in the investment. So for me, it was the fact that I'm already in that industry. That is what I do on a daily. I look at the markets and how they're performing. So when I see opportunities and I tell people to invest, then why would I leave myself out? So that is how I found myself in the stock markets.
Good one.
Yeah.
All right. Sam, I'm still holding you. So there's this part of clarification on most insurance policies. We're talking education, life policies. I think they put in bracket associated with riders, with associated riders. I think that's the point, eh? You know, I'm thinking like bikes. So clarify on that, which are marketed to many and as true investments. I think that's what they're saying. So I think there's a clarity on that, education, life policies. And what happens if you have a break in paying the premiums due probably to unforeseen circumstances, you know, due to a Trump situation, you know, I'm just saying. So would you clarify on that, Margaret? Are you in a position to do that? Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Just to start off, riders are not bikes.
Okay, yeah,
in this context.
Yeah, our generation.
So basically, you have the what you'd call the main policy that someone has bought, and you'd attach for an additional premium that is much lower than if you were to go buy that product on a standalone basis. You attach an additional benefit to that policy. So, for example, I've bought an education policy, but I still need some protection for critical illness. So, probably for an additional 100 shillings per month, that's a general example. I'll get the benefit of, in the event of a critical illness occurring, then there will be a payout that would go into that would be made in addition to the other, the other, whatever the purpose of the main policy is. So yes, education policies are good. They are marketed as investment products. I think they also come to supplement. So, for example, if you know that you have a child that is probably going to university in the next 20 years, so you can take a policy that will allow you to set aside 5,000 shillings, so that by the time they get to university, there's not such a huge outflow that you need to have at the time. And their goals are sort of guaranteed. Now the goals for the child, and also the parent. I would imagine they have these goals that I want my child to go to, have good education and the like. As far as breaks are concerned, we encourage if the financial situation of the person, of the policyholder changes, let them come. We have a discussion. There are various things that can be done. So, for example, we can reduce your premium. That's the amount you're paying into your policy. To ensure that the money that you've already put in is not lost, and such kind of things. So it's best if the person sort of visits any of our branches, and we can have a discussion.
Have a conversation.
Yeah.
Sam, let me bring you in, because there's a question between the 20s and the 30s, and I know you have any other comment you may want to give on that, on top of what my colleagues have just put in. That majority of the youth, especially between 20s and 30s, who are represented here, earn less than 20K. This is someone who has said that. He's called John Major. May you start earning a major salary, but now with no retirement benefits at all, and even most don't have jobs. What advice do you have for them in regards to investments and savings? And he speaks for a majority.
No matter how little
Yeah.
or how big
Yeah.
your income is, I mean, it's relative.
Yeah.
And the fear, and I can sort of like hear that fear that majority of these people are not earning enough.
Yeah.
But what is enough? They're in an environment where life itself is too expensive, and they're trying to make ends meet, and that amount of money doesn't seem to be able to meet all the basics. But that notwithstanding, one of the key elements or the key take home today would be invest what you can. Use the money that you have, budget for it, make sure that there is savings in it.
Yeah.
So a certain percentage, if you say that I'm going to save 10, 20% of your income, if it is 20,000, that then 10% will be 2,000. Just make sure that that 2,000 sits somewhere in a savings.
Yeah.
As your income grows, maintain that. So if your income grows, if when you're starting at that 20, 30,000 and you have been saving 10%, the minute your income grows to something else, the first thing is not to introduce a new expense or increase a certain other expense. But even as much as that is going to happen, as you try to measure the quality of life that you're living, because most of the times what people do is that when your income increases, the first thing is you move out. Or you change a certain lifestyle. I mean, you are using matatus.
You gotta show them.
Immediately. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, people have to know that life is happening and life is good.
Yeah.
But even then, just ensure that even the savings is also going up. So if you're going to save that 10%,
Yeah.
and I would want to mention that we have products. I mean, investment products are not expensive, even for that person. And I know there is this thing that has always been there, that investment is for the rich, the people who are already wealthy and they have already made it in life. But even then, when we come back to the conversations that we've been having, this investing is what is going to take care of you. Present, for the things that you want to do, you need to set aside money to be able to take care of those things. The future, you still also need to set up apart money that is going to, and not just setting apart, that is the savings bit. But the investment bit is just making sure that what you're saving is also growing
Yeah.
as time goes.
Yeah.
So no matter how small, we have products that will allow you to come in even as little as 500 shillings.
You're right.
So nobody is locked out.
Yeah.
So even when you look at even like our money market fund or any of our unit trust funds, whether you're saving for short term, whether you're saving for mid-term or you're saving for long term, you can always get started with even as little as 500 shillings.
You're right.
The discipline that you're going to put in it is what will count,
Yeah.
that you will be able to consistently keep doing it.
Yeah.
If you keep doing it and you keep doing it for a long time, you'll actually realize that you should not be worried too much that you started off, and their generation, the Gen Z, that you started off at 20,000 shillings. Perhaps you started off with no job. But at that point, and the viewers who are here, and probably you have not even started making that particular income to give room for investing.
Yeah.
I think the best thing that you can do right now is collect information.
Yeah.
Arm yourself with information about investing so that by the time you're getting your first paycheck, you already know the benefits
Yeah.
of saving, the benefits of investing. So that that's the best you can do right now. And even for the ones who are already earning money and wondering whether this money is enough,
Yeah.
get that information, get into a fund, do it. No matter how small it is, it will count somewhere.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I want to negotiate with our viewers because we were supposed to end at 10:50. We already exceeded by about 5-7 minutes or so. So it's a negotiation that if you can stay a bit more, so we can try and tackle a few more questions, just like 7 more minutes, so that at least we can do a hard stop at 10:30. I also know Simon had a hard stop because, you know, people who are close to retirement in Mombasa, they want to go. So Simon, I want to bring you in first, and then there was a question directed to you. It was quite a mouthful, and it was, given the current economic climate where purchasing power is steadily decreasing due to currency devaluation, rising interest rates and increasing taxes, would a life savings plan with a fixed period and accumulating interest still be an ideal investment strategy? And how can individuals ensure their savings are growing effectively in such an environment, especially when long-term financial plans seems less appealing due to these challenges? I don't know what you would say, and tell me how many minutes you have before you go back to the pool.
Okay, so I'll be honored to tell Raji. Thank you.
Excellent.
Let me say that saving is a mindset, is an attitude, rather than what you have. It's not so much of what you have. It's basically your attitude. And your attitude towards saving and investment determines your attitude, your financial attitude as well. Back to that question, yes, there is a lot of challenges, economic challenges that are around us, but it shouldn't take away our willpower to take responsibility of our financial future that we are getting into. In that regard, you work within your means. If you find that your disposable income has completely changed, been reduced, you can reduce your saving. If you used to do 10,000, you can reduce it to 5,000. So the thing is that you are continuing to save, you are not stopping. The other point I want to make in relation to that question is that you've got to be so clear, why are you saving? Because your objectives of saving and investment might also align to your risk appetite and the appropriate products that you choose to answer that. Because money answers too, and money is a loyal servant. So if you decide and say, my money is for my saving, this money market account is for my lipstick, hairstyle, and shoes on a monthly basis. The income that comes out of this is for this. Then that is the objective you have assigned for that money, and most likely that's how you are likely to achieve it. So know why you are saving and investing, it is important. And I will recommend another book, Start with the Why, by Simon Sinek. It's a good book.
Okay.
So when you talk about saving and investment, I think start with the why. Why are you saving? You need to mind.
All right. Thank you so much. So we got about 5 minutes, and I'm very happy because our team of experts have actually been answering all the many tens of questions that have come by. I think they're about 40 or so. So feel free, and if they have given you a contact, please reach out immediately. Don't let any opportunity pass you by. But I wanted to close with my panelists, and I wanted to ask you to just tell us mistakes that you have done. You know, a mistake that you have done at least. But Simon, because you're the one who is about to go, I want to start with you. I know you have seen it all. What are some of the mistakes you have done in the investments journey, and what are the lessons that you took home? But do it in 60 seconds. You know, first of all, I know one thing. If there's one take home I've taken from you, I need to be reading many books. You have quoted already 3 of them. But we'll talk about that. Simon, go ahead. Simon, are you still there? Just checking.
So, okay, so in this time round, and we last you a nice I don't know whether you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
You can hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Okay, so I think a house of around, maybe just estimate, around 3 million. So that's what is called late capital, because I had to say that house, country, maybe in a year is 2 days or 3 days in a year. And when a house not in use, the cost of maintenance already decided. If I had taken that 3 million and put it in fixed income security, and that earns me just an estimate of 12% per month, from age 30, you can guess what age I am, up to now, I possibly will have accumulated value of around 18 million. From 3 million.
That's a lot.
So, there are many of us between that age, you do a house because you are not so clear why are you doing it, and you not check out on the opportunity cost of that investment. You end up putting investments or doing things or buying clothes, which are just idle, according to nobody your cash says. An asset is anything that generates cash flow. So those flows in Kamuru, those flows in Kwazamaita, you feel like you have Kamuru flows. What cash flow are being generated.
Yeah.
And it's okay, like in football, if a player is not scoring, it's okay to substitute. You can sell that plot, take it into some bond that gives you 12, 13%, and liquid. And you get your cash flow every after 6 months, maybe after 10 years, you get back your last.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I want to give you the permission to now go to the pool. Thank you so much, Simon. Let's get here, and time is not on our side, so I have about 60 seconds for each of you. Probably a mistake that you have done financially. I know there could be many. Just choose one, and then I want us to go this way because Sam is going to have the last word. So let's start from the young. Did you eat too much? Anyway, go ahead.
Simon talked about self-gratitude and rewarding yourself
Yeah.
when you make an income.
Yeah.
When I look back at my first 6-7 months of employment and the money I was making, I might have overpaid myself. Because in my mind at that time, most of this investment, I had that mentality that investing is, I need to be making more
Yeah.
for me to start investing. I had that assumption that I can't start investing right now. I mean, what do I have? So I was also rewarding myself because I had been unemployed for a minute. So I was telling myself, I'm sorry.
Willy boy.
Willy Paul. But
It's a
really,
good one,
that was a lot of money that would have really have helped me looking back right now in hindsight. That was my biggest mistake.
Yeah.
And my advice will be to start with whatever amount you have.
Yeah.
Some mentioned about a money market fund that you can start with 500 bob. I started with one that was starting with 1,000 bob. And at that time, I felt like an achiever. Yeah, you can
Yes.
start with whatever amount of money
important.
and start early.
You're right.
Yeah, so that you can be in the shoes of Simon in your
Yeah.
60s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Enjoying the pool.
And in the pool.
Margaret.
Yeah, I think for me it was I had an income. So, for example, let's assume it was like 50,000,
Yeah.
and I'd gotten to a point where I knew it is important to save.
Yeah.
So, what I would do is, it had gotten to a point where I didn't even have an ATM card. So, I'd go to the bank once, withdraw. I think I used to, at the time I was living at home, so I was spending around maybe 30,000 per month, and then the rest I would leave it in the account to sit there, and it just sat there
Yeah.
idle without earning any interest. Yet there were products like what Sam talked about, money markets, could have been earning some interest, but I was just lending to the banks, so to speak.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Sam.
Yes.
Sam, you have a big word. I would want to know a mistake you've done yourself as well, and as well as what would be your, and you have given us a lot of take homes as well. What would be your final word on this? Go ahead.
The mistake that I may have done, and it's a mistake that I've actually learned that a lot of people make that similar mistake. And it's not a mistake you do once.
Yeah.
It's a mistake you keep doing every so often. And even for myself,
Yeah.
I have done this a lot of times that when I look back, I think it's a big mistake.
Yeah.
And this is procrastination. Postponing investing.
Oh.
Postponing. I mean, at the time when you're broke, you think about it, you plan it, and you know very well, when I get this money, I am going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's very clear in your mind.
Yeah.
But the minute the money comes in, you keep saying, I will do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
I will do it. I already have the money. I already have the plan.
Boom.
I'll push it to my money market fund. But by the time a couple of days later, you actually realize you have already spent it all and you didn't do it. And you console yourself and saying, okay, next month I'll do double.
Yeah.
And that postponing every so often, a year is going to go past and you did absolutely nothing. So that's a big mistake. And I would encourage everyone,
Yes.
once you plan,
Yeah.
have the discipline to do it. Let it be the first thing when your income comes in. And
Yeah.
for those whose income comes at a certain time of the month,
Yeah.
when it comes in, let it be the first thing that gets out.
Yeah.
Put it out, then spend. That way, at least on your journey of investment, you will know it is consistent.
That's true.
Yes.
Wow, thank you so much for that. This is how I want to end it in style, all right? I don't know whether my good friend Collins, whether he's still there, but if me, gave you 10 million shillings now, so this is how the sentence is going to be. If you give me 10 million shillings, I will. It's a simple sentence, all right? Who wants to start? Here? Then we go that way?
So I can learn from their mistakes.
I just want to check whether it would be nice. I don't know. Has Simon gone? Oh no, I know. I gave him permission to go. But if he's there, I would have wanted to hear his response as well. But if so, Sam, you've been put on the spot. I know today you are the one who's. If Minor gives me 10 million shillings, I want you to bless me like I can give you. But start with that sentence. Go on.
If you give me 10 million now,
Yes.
I'll buy a bond.
Ah,
An infrastructure bond for that matter.
excellent.
Yes.
Margaret.
If you give me 10 million shillings, I think I'll pinch a little bit and eat.
Sorry. Finish your sentence.
I'd pinch a little bit and eat, and then the rest, since this is a windfall, I would put it in an investment. But the pinch would be very, very small, less than 1%.
Okay.
If you give me 10 million today, I'd put 3 million in a money market fund so that I can have a salary of like 30K every month from it. And then the remaining 7, I'd still split it. I'd really buy stocks. I'd buy stocks with like half of it, and then I'd also buy a bond with the remaining money. But it's about timing, how much will the income come in. So for the money market, it's because I want it monthly, and then the bond is going to give me in 6 months. But stocks, if I buy stocks with even 3 million, I'd be sure by the time I'm at Simon's age, I'm an owner.
Your wishes come true.
Impossible.
Thank you so much. I want to close, and I don't know whether I can look here or just which side do I look at? There. Okay. Thank you so much, guys. All the hundreds of you that have tuned in. We tried all the tens of questions. Thank you so much, and I hope you had a takeout. And I just want to read one as I close from Colin Sindeti, who was very active. In fact, if I had the 10 million, I would land you some. That I just want to take a moment and sincerely thank you for organizing such a meaningful forum on wealth, aspiration, and success. It was incredibly insightful, and I truly appreciate you taking the time out on your Saturday morning to facilitate this conversation. Yes, Saturday, you can imagine. So your effort in bringing together such valuable perspectives is greatly appreciated, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to be part and parcel of this dialogue. Thank you again for your dedication and commitment to fostering such an important discussion. Collins, man, were you the guy who used to give vote of thanks to your guests in school? Man, I owe you something. Thank you, guys. We shall do this another time. Asanteni sana, and bye-bye.
Bye.